show you how to do some toner-based image transfers that you can then include in your visual journaling practice. In order to do this, you'll need your scissors, you'll need a bone folder or a wooden spoon will work just as well. You want your glue stick. You're going to need some of the packaging tape, clear packaging tape. You're going to need the Chartpak blender pen that's in your supply list. And then you're going to need some toner-based images that you want to work with. What works best are images that were created on a photocopier, an actual Xerox machine that uses toner for the printing process, not ink, or a laser jet printer also uses toner. With one of these techniques using the pen, photocopies work the best. With the process using the tape, photocopies or magazine images can work with that image transfer process. So I want to show you both of these processes and how you can add them into your visual journal. So I'm going to do the process with the pen first. So I'm going to move all of these things out of the way. And so I found this little picture of a brain and I photocopied it and I cut it out so that I've got a little bit of room around it, but I cut it out pretty close to the edges. I don't have to cut it out right to the edges all the way around all the wrinkles of the brain. That's not necessary, but just to cut it out so that I can see where the brain is. And then I have to decide where in my journal I would like this image to go. The thing that's interesting about these images and adding them to your book, I can add it to a place where there's white paper, or I could add it to a place where there might be some painting or some writing. For the sake of seeing it nice and clear, I'm gonna add this brain into an area that's mostly just the white paper. So I take the image, I put it face down so that the picture is facing the book. Uncap my marker. It's gonna have that groovy old-fashioned magic marker smell, so you don't want to shut yourself in a closet when you do this. Make sure you have some ventilation, open windows, something like that, or if you have a picnic table outside, doing it outside is probably even better. But I'm going to completely coat the back of this image, and you can see the brain is starting to show up. And then I'm going to use my bone folder, and if you have a wooden spoon, that works too. And I'm going to rub the back of this image. I'm just burnishing it, trying to encourage the image to transfer from the paper that it was photocopied on onto the paper in my journal. And I can, if I hold it in place, I can peel this back and I can see how well the transfer is starting to work. Looks like it's coming out pretty good. I might burnish it just a little bit more. And then I have my print here in my book. The fun thing about these kinds of prints is you can add them to things that you've already written or drawn. They can go on top of marker or paint. And you can still work with this. So I could still add color to this brain even after it's been put in the book. If I want it to be a pink brain, I can color it in with the pink, and I can still see all of the toner. It doesn't smear and nothing's going to happen to it. So with the toner-based image using the pen, you can put that into your book at any point on blank paper. It can go on top of things that you've already written or drawn, and as long as it is from a photocopier or a laser jet printer, it will work with this process. If you have a printer at home that says it's a photocopier, but it might take ink cartridges to work the printer, that printer is not going to work with this process. You would need to take some of the images that you like, go to Staples or somewhere where you can access an actual photocopy, an actual Xerox machine, and make photocopies of those images, and then you'd be able to transfer them using the solvent pen, the Chartpak blender pen. Couple tips here. This picture, I would not be able to make another transfer from this picture. However, the process I'm going to show you with the tape process I'm going to show you next, you could pull the rest of this toner off with the tape if you still wanted to use this image. But once you've made one print with the pen, you can't really make another one. It's not going to come out dark enough. There's not enough toner left on this paper. All this paper is doing, it's a carrier for the toner, and so it's just sitting on the surface. What the solvent does is it encourages the toner to come off of this surface and go onto that surface. So you can start thinking about how this might play into some of your visual journaling practice. The other technique that I want to show you, I'm going to move my book out of the way, is working with the packaging tape. So with this process, you just need to pull the tape out, and I'm pulling it out sticky side up. So this part's the sticky side up. Might do it on this blue pad. You might be able to see it better. Maybe not, I don't know. So there's the tape, and then I'm going to take my image. This was a photocopy of a drawing that I did for a linoleum block print, and I think this is actually a photocopy of the print. And so then I'm going to put this down here in the tape, and I'm going to cut it. So you can see that some of the tape is covering it, some of it's not covered. I need to make sure this whole picture is covered. It's okay if the tape goes over the edges because I'm going to cut that later, and it is a good idea to cut out the picture you want with a little bit of room left around it, so that you'll have some room for removing the tape. So I'm going to need a second strip of tape to finish this one. And because both of these techniques are a little bit labor intensive, I usually don't use images much bigger than the palm of my hand. So the picture fits in my hand, that's probably about as big as what I'm going to do. So now that I've got it taped, I'm going to cut it out. So now I'm actually going to cut the image pretty directly to the edges of the picture that I want. And as I do that, all of this extra sticky stuff that's left over, I can throw that in the trash. It won't accidentally get stuck in my journal and stick pages together, things like that. So I'm just going to crumble it up, throw that away. So now I have this image. It's got tape over it. I didn't worry, the tape can overlap. It's actually better to let it overlap than to try to line seams up. Just let the tape overlap. You can't really put too much tape on it, so it'll be all right. So what I'm going to do before I do anything else is I'm going to burnish the back with that same bone folder. You can use that same wooden spoon if that's what you have. And what this will do is any little air bubbles that got in there with the tape, this will make sure they go away. And then it's ready for me to do the transfer. So I'm going to need some water. This image just goes in the water. The paper will soak up water, and then I can bring it back here, and then just using my fingers, I'm going to start to rub on the back and remove the paper. Try not to use your nail, because if your nail gets in there, it will scratch it. My water cup is right here, so if I need more water, I can always just dip my fingers in that and get this paper to come off. With the photocopies, the paper comes off pretty easy. If you do this with a magazine, it's a little bit harder to get the paper off the back because of the sizing. It's what they put into the paper that gives it that sort of sheen that you have from a magazine picture. So you have to sort of work through that sheen, that sizing first before you get to the actual paper. And what it can do is that it can leave a little bit of this white haze on the tape. It might stay there. You might not be able to get all of it to go away. So just be careful if you try it with a magazine, because if it gets scratched, the color could scratch off. But with the black and white photocopies and the tape, it's pretty straightforward. And with a LaserJet printer, this process works pretty good too, and you can kind of see whatever's underneath of it is what's going to show through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find another place in my book, and I'm going to add a tape transfer to an image in here. I'm going to add it right here. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to make sure it's dry. So either by drying it on my shirt or drying it with a cloth. And then I'm going to need my glue stick. I'm going to apply some glue stick to the back of this image. So I'm going to get a scrap piece of paper that I can use for the gluing. I'm going to make sure that I get the glue all the way to the edges. I make sure that I put plenty of glue on this. Get the whole back of it covered. After you take the paper off, it's still going to be sticky, but it's not sticky enough to really put into your book, so you're going to need to use the glue stick. I kind of liked it right there. And then if I want to, I could even take a piece of paper and put it over top of this and burnish it again if I want to really get it smooth. And then it's in there. The big difference between the tape transfer and the solvent transfer that you do with the Chart Pack marker, you can't really do anything else on top of the tape. This is the top layer. So if you make a tape transfer, just remember, this is the top layer of what I'm making. Nothing else is really going to stick to this. I've tried to use paint, I've tried to use marker, it always scratches off. So make sure before you glue the tape transfer down that you think about what's underneath of it that's going to show through, what's going to be the other element in the image that's going to show through once you've put it in your book. And then secondly, with the solvent transfer with the pen, I don't have to worry about that because I can still work with it. It doesn't matter if I put it on white paper or put it on an area where I've already drawn or written something, I can still add to it. So get some images and do some practicing with these image transfer processes. Think about this when you're making your artist pages, when you're working on some of the TED Talk people. You could maybe find images of these people, of some of their work, and you could use those images to build up some spaces about those people in your book so that the research that you're doing on that page isn't just notes. There's actually some images there that help you access that content and remember those things that you're learning. So that's it for image transfers, tape transfer, solvent pen transfer. Give it a try, experiment, and if you have problems, you know, I'll be talking to you so you can bring them up and we'll figure it out and find solutions. Okay, talk to you later. Bye-bye.